3.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mahika, and I am a 4th year Bachelor of Arts Bachelor of Science student, and I'm majoring in Psychology and Theatre and Performance Studies. Today, I'm really excited to host the Prepping for Success Studying Online and Remotely event, and I'd like to give a warm welcome to all of our commencing students online today. Whether you're commencing your studies on campus or turning in virtually, we're thrilled to have you as a part of our community. Before I begin, I'd like to share my respects and acknowledge the Bedegal and Gadigal people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which UNSW campuses stand, with the elders past and present on which this event takes place. Prepping for Success is a virtual event series that aims to introduce first years to a range of university systems, support services, and tools to help ensure a smooth transition into university. As a student myself, I know firsthand how confusing and overwhelming starting your uni journey can be. And I really encourage you to take advantage of all the events on offer as a part of the series, as well as the Q&A sessions, which are at the end of each event. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Darcy, who is a student support advisor at UNSW and is here to share some practical tips and advice on how to study online and remotely. Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you, Mahika. And welcome everyone, and congratulations on being here as part of the last workshop of O Week. It's showing a great commitment to your studies already, so congratulations. So as Mahika said, I'm Darcy and I'm from the student support team, and the student support team helps students with a real variety of issues. So it could be about learning academic skills like time management, studying online, motivation, procrastination, but it also we're also supporting students with welfare issues like financial and accommodation, and a variety of other challenges that students experience when studying. So the workshop that I'm going to present today is going to go over maybe some of the challenges and some of the tools that you may employ to successfully study online. So many of you may be familiar now with studying online after 2 years of intermittent lockdowns. Yet regardless of that, it can still present challenges. So hopefully in this session you'll be able to learn some strategies for meeting these challenges. And if not, the teams that you can turn to for support if it's all feeling a bit much. So I don't really want to present studying online as this huge daunting task that all students find hard. A lot of students find that studying online is a fantastic opportunity for them, and that they find that they perform better and enjoy it more than on campus. I've studied most of my academic career online, and I'm definitely one of those students that see the benefits in online learning. So we asked a few students who, about what they liked about online learning. Some people said that they enjoyed having more flexibility with their time, so it maybe meant that they could fit in other commitments around their study. They had more time to pursue extracurricular goals or spend time with friends and family. Some students said that it improved their efficiency, so potentially having a really good setup at home and not having to commute, and having a really great focused area at home, and they were able to study more effectively. Some students talked about different connections to peers or lecturers. So for some, face-to-face connections isn't the most comfortable place to connect always, and so being able to connect with students over different forms of technology may be preferential for them. And other students talked about innovative practice. So many of the lecturers and tutors and teachers at UNSW really had to reinvent the wheel when they reimagined their curriculum for online learning. And that has led to some really interesting ways of delivering content. And so students talked about how that innovative practice has made their learning more interesting and dynamic and maybe varied. But I do want to acknowledge that it does take work for many students. It's often not as simple as switching from on campus and using the same tools as you would there. So we're going to go through some of those skills now. So the first thing that I want to talk about is talking about setting up your study zone. So by your study zone, I'm going to refer and talk about the space where you're studying, the equipment that you're using, and also your time. So when you're starting at university, you are expected to be more independent in your study and manage your time and make sure that you get work done. But being on campus does have the benefit of adding some structure to your week. So when you think about it, that you've got to get up at a certain time, get to uni either by walking or public transport, attend specified classes, and then potentially attend organised events with friends or society. So adds some structure or building blocks to your week, so you kind of know what's on, and you've got to be certain places at certain times. Sometimes with studying online, you can have endless flexibility, and it for some students that really high level flexibility does present challenges. Because they may not have any classes that are delivered live. They may not have particular commitments that they have to be at a certain time. And so with students like this, or with all students, I encourage you to think about creating a schedule to add a sense of routine or structure into your life. So I'm not sure whether any of you attended Bridie's time management session, but she talks a lot about creating schedules and how to make it work for you. But some of the things that you might think about when starting to create a schedule are factoring in time into your week for things that keep you well. So that would be appropriate sleep times, times for doing exercise, times for preparing and eating meals or spending time with friends and family. Also time for doing things that fill you up with joy, or things that you really enjoy doing that build up your well-being. Also your classes, obviously, your classes that are at a set time each week. You can factor them in each week, and then for many students who don't necessarily have a live streamed class for their lecture, so things may be pre-recorded. They may be able to watch it at their own time. I'd suggest setting up regular times to watch it. So it kind of feels like, well, every Tuesday morning I'm going to tune in and watch that lecture, and that gives the structure that you would feel if you were attending an on-campus experience, and makes it less likely that you're going to kind of lack the willpower on a Tuesday morning to be able to watch that lecture. So once you've done that, you'll be able to see what times left in your week are open for study time or relaxation. And so I'd advise you to think about how you're going to use that time effectively, and what times in the day are going to be your best time to approach different types of study. We help a lot of students with creating study schedules. There's a lot to it, and it's a really individualised approach. So I'd encourage you to make a booking if you want to work out a tailored schedule for you. I'd also recommend that you have some kind of overview of the whole trimester. So the university has online term planners, but you could also just as easily use a calendar or something that gives you an overview of the whole trimester, when upcoming assessments are, how far off till exams, and when key dates are in the semester. So that helps you prepare in advance for upcoming upcoming events. Final point is looking at what daily or weekly goals you can set for yourself to help keep you motivated each week. So I mentioned their SMART goals. So these are specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, and time bound. And so this, by setting up SMART goals, and you might like to look a bit more into what a SMART goal is, you might be able to better keep yourself self-motivated, understand what it is that you really need to achieve that week to keep on track, and then also like assess when you're falling behind and when might be a good time to call out for help. So there is an expectation at university that you will be doing a significant amount of work outside of class, so outside of your lectures or tutorials. And this may be different from wherever you were previously studying, where all the learning or most of the learning may have happened in class. So this is just one strategy that some people may find useful when structuring how they absorb information that's delivered in any particular week. So the first step, we look up here at preview. So this would be spending 5 to 15 minutes before a class or a lecture to review the material that you're going to be going through, review the questions that may be coming up in a tutorial, make any notes of ideas that might come up or questions that you might have, and maybe quickly review any of the big ideas or terms. The second point would be attend. The obvious point, so attend the class, attend the lecture. And so in this session, you can take notes, ask questions, interact, listen, whichever way you find best to absorb information in the moment as it's being presented to you. The third point would be review. So this would be 10 to 15 minutes after the class, where you go through the notes that you make. You may fill in the gaps in areas that you that things were moving too quick, or you lapsed in concentration, and fill in those notes there, and maybe start developing some questions from any of the concepts that you struggle to fully absorb. The next point, study, may come later in the week. So this is when you would go deeper into reading about a specific topic. So there may be specific readings connected to the class that you're doing that you may be able to absorb at this stage. You may go through your notes and work through allocated questions, and you may start interacting with the discussion board on Moodle. So most courses will have some kind of way of interacting with either the course convener or your peers to start asking some of those bigger questions that you're having. And the final point is check. So this is a great time for maybe later in the week or maybe the following week to just check in on your comprehension of the topic. And it's a great way to build retention of information if you're checking in on things later. Do I understand things, what's being presented? Could I teach these topics to others? Are my methods of working, are my methods of study working here? Do I need to adjust anything? Do I need to ask for help? So this is just one suggested process for taking on information. But having something like this, some kind of process or structure, may help give you some routine or like habits around your study if you're trying to study remotely. So the second way of setting up your study zone is to think about your physical environment. So there's four pictures here, and I'd like you to just have a quick think about which ones look familiar to you, which ones look like study environments that perhaps you would use, and which ones seem like the most effective ways of studying. Okay, so there's, I think all of them look familiar to me. I've definitely used all four of those, but I do know that probably the top two have been the most effective at taking on information and learning. So when you're thinking about creating a study zone, I like to think about the mindset that it puts me in. So when I sit on the couch and potentially I've got my pajamas on, and I'm aiming to do some reading on the couch, I kind of instantly go into this mindset of relaxation, chilling out, maybe my brain switching off a little bit, really into kind of Netflix TV mode. My dog might come over and ask for a scratch. I'm pretty slouch. And so if I do some study in that environment, I pretty quickly tune out, or maybe I have to read the same page 5 times. So it doesn't feel like the most effective for me. So when we're thinking about what makes a good study environment, it is going to differ for everyone, but I think probably some of the fundamentals of studying would be thinking about a private and quiet space. So if you think about what a good study environment is, you might think of a library, where there is this atmosphere of studiousness, of focus, of getting work done. And while you may not be able to access a library or the UNSW library while you're studying remotely, you may still be able to recreate some of the aspects of the library that make it feel conducive to successful study. So private and quiet space. Away from family, away from kind of noisy areas of the house, or you may, if it's a small space, you may choose to use some white noise in some headphones to drown out some of the noise around you. Distractions is a big one, so that could be family or pets, but it also could be distracting apps or YouTube or Netflix. And so one strategy that you could use there is blocking apps, so using some technology to block those apps for certain periods, or to maybe study away from your phone. The next point would be that the space is physically set up to meet your needs. So if you look at the first two options, their posture is, or especially is at B, sorry, their posture is really good. They've got their feet flat on the ground, they've got a straight back, their laptop is at eye level. And so having a good posture and a good physical setup means that you're probably going to be able to study for longer and not get as sore and achy in your body. Lighting's really important, as well as taking breaks when you need them. So just have a think about your study space at home. Think about which of these points it's meeting, and maybe which you could adjust to make it feel like a more studious atmosphere. Bear with me. Breaks, key one. Okay, so since you're going to be studying remotely, everything that you need for your classes and to access support services like ours, or to connect with your peers, is going to be done online. So it is essential that you have a solid tech setup and that your internet is working. So I'm going to pose some questions here that are really good to answer before classes start next Monday, and hopefully you're answering in the affirmative. But there are some support options here if you do need help. So first, does your computer work? Is it able to switch on? Are you able to log in? Do you have access to the internet? Reliable access to the internet. So sometimes you may need to stream your video. And so you want to be able to make sure that you've got pretty good access to the internet. Do you require a VPN? Do you have the required software for your course? So this is a good time, good thing to check Moodle or with your course convener. Some courses have specialised software that students need to use in order to complete assessments or to get homework done. And so it's good to check in where it's available. Is it available for free? Do you need to download it somewhere, and how can you access it? Do you have access to all the online resources? So there are a number of different platforms that are going to be really important for you to be able to access as a student. So Moodle is one of them, My UNSW is another, but then there are also a variety of others for accessing study support, support from us and other aspects of the university. So hopefully during O Week you have had an opportunity to familiarise yourself around the virtual environment of UNSW, and hopefully some of these resources and sites and programs are starting to feel familiar. But if not, like, there are places that you can go to for help. So this website that I've taken a screenshot for, Getting Ready to Study Remotely, is a fantastic resource put together by the IT team, which helps students who are just trying to get the basics going. So if you've got any questions about your IT setup, maybe start here. If you don't manage to get your question answered here, you can also connect with the IT team, for the IT support team. So you can do that through a web form, or you can phone them, but also asking your peers. So asking people in your course, asking some of the peer mentors, how do I access my pre-recorded videos? How do I access notes from the first week? Often they're a fantastic resource for getting those questions answered and getting the most out of the online material associated with your course. So hopefully you've answered yes to most of these. And if not, maybe it's time to this weekend just to make sure that you get those final pieces of the puzzle sorted before Monday. So I think one of the most important things about university, aside from your studies, is the connections that you're going to make. And so much work has been done at UNSW to ensure that you're still able to make these connections despite studying remotely. So I'm going to go through a few type of people that you might like to connect with and how you might be able to do this. So the first would be to your classmates, so to the people in your courses. So you will have the opportunity to see these people in your lectures or your tutorials, but I'd really advise, and things that I've seen successful students do, is to form breakout study groups. So initiate a study group, or try to get a study group going on one of the discussion boards, so you can make connections with your peers to ask questions about the content that you don't understand, or maybe to establish a live study group. So a lot of students use WhatsApp or Facebook or some other social media to facilitate this. And knowing, like, I have seen students do Zoom videos, or heard of students doing Zoom videos where they study with other students who are studying remotely. So you may not be all in the library together, but you've still got that feeling of you're not in this alone, and there are other people out there working on the same problem. So some of those you will have to facilitate yourself. So I'd advise kind of stepping up and asking people, is this something that you'd be interested in? Is this something that you think would be helpful? There's also a number of help sessions that are available through your faculty, where peer mentors, often in years above, may be available to help you virtually. So that's a good way to meet other people in your faculty, and through online workshops, and you may be able to make some connections through there as well. Oh, going backwards. The second one is connecting with your lecturer or tutor. So I think it's a fantastic idea to make sure that you're familiar with their name, how they prefer to be contacted, what you can do to like what kind of questions they like being asked, whether there might be course-related questions that need to go to someone in related to the course, and maybe if you're having trouble understanding content, that might be more for your tutor. So understanding what questions should be directed where, and then understanding how you're able to connect with them. So some course conveners might appreciate emails, others might appreciate you posting things on the discussion board and for them to respond through discussion boards. Other course conveners or tutors might have drop-in sessions where you're able to drop in virtually during a specified couple of hours to ask questions that you might be struggling with. So they're a great resource for you to be familiar with, and I wouldn't be frightened of asking for help from your lecturer or tutor. Finally, the wider UNSW community is a great place for you to form connections. So ARC is the student union at UNSW, and if you've had much to do with O Week this week, you will have seen a lot of the things that they're putting on and how wide and diverse their offerings are. So ARC has done an incredible job over the past couple of years to make sure that students studying remotely are supported in their desire to make connections and make friends, or to look after their well-being, or to learn about industry or something else that they're passionate about. So there's a huge number of opportunities to engage with the university through their offerings, and also to make some friends. And that being said, there's also a huge number of offerings through that are organised by the university and through the engagement team. So the team that are putting on O Week also put on a number of other events and offerings and learning opportunities and connection points. So keep your ear to the ground on student newsletters to be able to find out like what's coming up and what you might be interested in to build those connections. This is a bit of a leap, but so keeping positive. So I do want to spend the last couple of sessions looking at last couple of slides looking at ways that you can look after yourself. And I suppose the first point is about the mindset that you take into study this year, and the mindset that you bring to studying online. So as I've already mentioned, there are a number of challenges to studying online. There's also a number of positives. And what I want you to do for a moment is just to think about what is the thing that you're feeling really daunted about studying online. So what is one thing? It could be the isolation. It could be struggling with motivation. It could be about getting your questions answered. So there may be one thing that you're finding a bit daunting about studying online this year. And the second question is, how could you think about this challenge in a way that could help you grow as a student, grow as someone who wants to go into a career after this? How could your approach and overcoming this challenge, or the learnings that you may take from overcoming this challenge, help you to become a better person? So if you've been able to do that, and if you've been able to think about how a challenge can help you grow, you've just demonstrated one of the key aspects of growth mindset. So to like a way of thinking about learning that a lot of educational psychologists use is through the lens of growth versus fixed mindset. So fixed mindset is when someone thinks that I've got this ability, I've been born with this ability, and that ability is not really going to shift. I can't really improve. I can't really get worse. I'm just kind of stuck with this, and that's all I can do. So when you think about studying online, they may say, well, you know, I really struggle making connections virtually. So I'm stuck with that. I'm probably not going to have any friends while I'm at UNSW for the time that I'm studying online. Whereas a growth mindset would say, look, in the past, maybe there's some evidence that I haven't been able to make that many connections, but I'm not really sure whether that's set in stone. I haven't tried, you know, I haven't tried trying to set up smaller study groups. I haven't really engaged in that many events. Potentially there's someone that I can turn to who I know has done this really well and I can get some tips off them, or potentially it's about setting some small goals and seeing whether that helps me to grow. And so the difference with growth mindset is acknowledging that your abilities can change over time, and often they change and grow as you overcome challenges. And as you can imagine, in many aspects of your life, people with a growth mindset tend to achieve greater outcomes because they're more willing to approach challenges with a positive mindset. They're less likely to be concerned or wrapped up with anxiety about approaching something new. And also a key point is that no one out there is just stuck with a fixed mindset or just stuck with a growth mindset. A growth mindset is also something that you can grow, which is nice to know. So I guess this is one of the key slides for me, and what I talk about with many students, whether it be students who are studying remotely or students who are studying on campus, is ensuring that you have a study, life, work balance that works for you, that fills you with that feels balanced, that feels sustainable, that feels like something that you can work through even during the most challenging periods. And so some of the things that can help with creating a study life balance we've already mentioned. So time management, routine, you know, making sure that you've get enough sleep each day, making sure that you're creating time for exercise if exercise is something that makes you feel good. You know, for me, it's like a really solid morning routine. So I get up at a similar time each day and have a few morning routines that make me feel really good and get me off to a good start. But I guess like a question that you could pose yourself is like what is it that brings you joy? What is it that makes you really smile or gives you energy? And these are probably the things that are going to help you stay healthy while you're studying, or while you're trying to work along study, or while you're trying to keep up with all the commitments that you have. And these are probably the things that you should try set time for in your week if they make you feel good. So this is going to really differ for each person. For one person, it might be exercise. For another, it might be quality time with friends and family. For another, it might be reading a book, or, you know, like watching a few episodes on Netflix. Whatever it may be, like you've got to monitor and check in. Is this making me feel good? Is this helping me recuperate? Is this helping me to live a more balanced life? It's not always the student that works from 6 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night that is the most successful. It can be a student that has quite a few different things going on in their life, and they're managing those stress levels. They're looking after their physical, mental, emotional well-being. They're staying connected to friends and family, and they're looking out for their life holistically. There's a whole range of support teams that are available to help you stay healthy. So our team is one of them, but then there's also the counselling team and a few other teams that might be able to assist. So we're getting to the very end of the session now, but I do just want to go through some of the UNSW services, support services that are available to you. So these are all going to be available. I say all, I mean all. Yep. These are all going to be available for you, even while you're studying remotely. So there's Medibank. If you're overseas, you might be able to access the Medibank 24-hour nurse. For students who are studying overseas, you might be able to access some of the psychology and counselling workshops and resources, and there are ways to access counselling support as well. We are on here as well, so the student support team, and as I mentioned before, we provide academic and educational support, study support, and personal and welfare issues that may be impacting your studies. There's also a range of ARC, so ARC, the Student Union, virtual activities. There's a careers team, the IT service desk, which I've mentioned. There's a whole range of supports to help you with your academic skills, so learning how to reference correctly and do research and ensure that you're not plagiarizing. And then there's some fantastic students who offer up their time to be peer mentors, who are really fantastic at offering that student perspective when it comes to succeeding at UNSW. So I'd really advise you to check out the link that's listed here at the bottom, because that has compiled all the resources together, and there's some fantastic online resources and also opportunities and information about connecting with our teams. The final thing I'd like to say about connecting with our team, so we have virtual appointments where we meet with students for 45 minutes and get to know you, work out like what it is that you'd like to work on, what your goals are. And these, because of the nature of what we might be working on, so it might be about setting up a time schedule that works for you. Sometimes we might work with students over the course of a semester, so we might see them every fortnight for a whole semester as they try to develop skills and routines that are going to help them be successful. We've also got a drop-in service, which is just for those quicker questions. So if you've got a 5 to 10 minute question and you want to be seen on the day, I'd advise you to join the drop-in service. But if it is for a longer appointment, we'll probably make an appointment for you during that period. Yep. Final slide. I'm not sure whether I still got control. Okay, I seem to have lost access to the final slide, but luckily it is a very simple one. It just says questions, and so this is where I hand it. Okay, very good. It's up. So I'd just like to hand it over to you. I've presented a fair bit of information for you today, and a lot of it is quite general. Like some of these skills really take understanding your individual situation, and so sometimes we may have to set up a virtual appointment to be able to go through the specifics of what's happening for you and what your environment is at home. But I still hope that some of these generalized ideas may have still struck a chord with you and may be helpful. So, but now I'll offer it over to questions.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Q&A session. So if you have any questions at all, please do type them in the chat for Darcy to answer. And you can like questions so that they can be uploaded, answered quicker. But we already have a couple of questions coming in through. So the first one is, my time zone means that sometimes I need to attend class very early in the morning or late at night. Do you have any suggestions that might help me succeed?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for that question. So this may be the case for, this is the case for a lot of students that we've worked with. So they may be checking in from the other side of the world, and that may mean that they have a live class that streams at 3 in the morning. And as I mentioned then, sleep times and sleep schedules, making sure that you're monitoring your body clock is really important for keeping yourself well. So a few strategies that you might be able to approach if you are checking in from the other side of the world or from a different time zone is checking as to how many of those courses may be recorded, and whether you can, whether it may be preferential for you to attend some of the recorded sessions, whether you can rearrange your schedule. So the live ones that you're attending are in a time that's suitable for you and within your sleep schedule. It may be about checking in with your course convener and just giving them a heads up that this is where I'm tuning in from. This is the time that I'm trying to watch this lecture or this tutorial. Have you got any flexibility with how you deliver this information? And they may be able to offer some solutions. It would also be really great to make some connections with other students who are tuning in from a time zone that's different from UNSW, because they may be great people to connect with or to hold live study sessions with, to be able to talk through your problems in real time, because we know the benefits. There's going to be some great benefits to be able to talk about this with people, but you may need to work out people that you can tune in at an appropriate time with. Hope that answers the question.
Awesome. Another question we have is from an international student, and they're saying that they'll only be able to travel to Australia around 2 weeks into the start of the course. Hence, they won't be able to attend around 4 in-person lab sessions. So what can they do to catch up on that? Will they be able to take those classes later?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and when we know a lot of international students are going to be returning periodically through this first and second semester, and so I understand that there is some flexibility in how students are approaching on campus requirements, but that'll really need to be a question that you ask your course convener or your faculty about. So that'll need to be something that you connect with them early, let them know what your situation is, see whether there's any alternative options, see whether there's a way that you might be able to catch up on those labs later, or whether there's an online version of those labs. And potentially, if there isn't, then there might be an opportunity to change courses or to jump into another course.
On the topic of course conveners, a question that we have is, are course conveners, subject coordinators and lecturers all the same person, or are they different?
Oh, maybe should I hand over to you, Mahika?
It's easy to definitely get a bit confused with them. So lecturers are pretty much you'll see in your lab, whenever you have that lecture. Sometimes if you have a big class, you might have different lecturers over like the span of the term, because they might be doing different subjects and topics that you're studying. But do you want to explain the difference between a course convener and a subject coordinator? Because they seem very similar, but they're not.
Yeah, so it will differ. It will differ a little bit by course, and some courses the convener and the lecturer will be the same person, but for some larger courses, the person who delivers the content, so the lecturer, will be different from the course convener who maybe looks over the administrative, takes over administratively of the course. So they may monitor the marks and results coming in, when the assessments are going to sit, when the curriculum, where the curriculum or how the curriculum is going to roll out over the course of the semester. So in the first week of your course, they should outline in the first lecture or on Moodle who the key people in your course are, how you can connect with them, what questions you go to each person for, and yeah, like what their contact details are. So it's a really good question, and it may differ course by course.
Awesome. Another question that we have is, how do I connect with my peers in class while studying online? Will there be any groups on communication channels that I can join?
Yeah, so I did touch on this briefly. Like, there will be on Moodle, there will be discussion forums where you can ask questions about your course, or questions that you're having about the content that you're learning. But we do find that a lot of students take the initiative to form their own breakout groups on WhatsApp or another form of social media, and that'll normally be led by a student who feels the need for that. So they may ask, other group members from their tutorial, hey, do you want to continue this discussion over WhatsApp? And so that may be a more informal approach to creating connections with your peers, but probably something that's going to be really beneficial. But Mahika, do you have, like, you've been studying online for the last 2 years, do you have any suggestions on how you made connections?
Yeah, I think something to look out for is on the UNSW Facebook discussion group. A lot of students post that they're making group chats for specific courses, so you can always comment to be added to that. That's a really great way to ask questions, talk to others as well. A lot of times when there's assignments, there's a lot of communication going on there. Reach out to people on those kind of channels as well. A lot of kind of specific faculties or societies, so like PsychSoc, I know Science Society also does very similar study sessions. They host a lot of online events as well, and sometimes they do stuff specifically for first year, second years and third years. So definitely try and join a society relating to your degree, because they do hold a lot of different kind of communications, speed friending, lots and lots of things. And then kind of outside that, there's a lot of stuff from ARC, and a really awesome program that I know is running this year is Virtual Houses, which is kind of like an online community, very similar to Houses in Harry Potter, where you can do lots of events, and it's a great way to meet people from outside of your degree. But yeah, ARC always runs amazing programs, and societies always have kind of fun things going on to meet other students and peers while you're still online.
Incredible. Thank you, Mahika.
Awesome. I think we have a couple more questions, and if people have more questions, definitely do send them in, because we might be wrapping up soon. Another question is, what can I do if I start falling behind on classwork and assessments?
Yeah, so this is, like, particularly for students that are new, like, this is a huge adjustment to studying at UNSW, starting a new course, to potentially, like, studying online for the first time. And so it is really common that students struggle in their first semester, in their first year. So while I'd like to, like, normalise that experience of struggling, it is really important that you take initiative. So it's important that you continue to check in with yourself, like, am I taking on this information? Do I feel like I'm comprehending it? You know, how have I gone in the first couple of small assessments? When I talk to my peers, you know, like do I feel like we're at a similar level? So you're checking in, you're staying aware of you know, how you're going with your content, and then you're taking some action. So, you know, potential action that you might take is to switch up your study techniques, maybe to ask your course convener or your tutor for additional support, you know, connecting with peers to form a social group, or connecting with one of the support services. So we talk to a lot of students who are in their first year and say, look, they might say, look, something's not working right. I'm not even really clear about what it is that's not working, but I need some help because I think I'm falling behind. And the earlier you come and ask that question, the better we're able to work out like what it is that you might be able to improve, and hopefully get you on the right pathway.
Okay, we have another few questions. So this one is, I'm worried about getting distracted while I'm at home. Do you have any advice about staying focused?
So this is yeah, so this is something that I've definitely struggled with. So I've done quite a bit of online study, and there's certain things and there's certain times of day, and there's certain applications that seem to draw me in and know exactly when I am reaching my weakest point of motivation. So things that have that I work with students on, and some of the things that we've mentioned here today is to really be aware of, you know, what is a good routine for you? What's a good study schedule? When are you going to feel most focused? So for me, I find that I am indestructible in the morning. Like, I am focused, I am in the zone, I'm able to get all that really hard work done, like big readings, which I normally get really distracted in, and I pump that out in the morning. So I've got this great awareness about, like, what are my strengths and how do I work to my strengths? I find that any study that I try to do after 9 o'clock, I'll be on my phone watching a YouTube video, you know, every 5 minutes. So it's just not worth my while to be able to try study at that point. I've also there are also a number of study techniques that help keep you fresh and focused. So one is the Pomodoro technique, which many students may have used, and so that is an application or a timer where it gives you maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes of study, and then 5 minutes of break. And so this technique allows you to put in a really focused amount of study during that period, of 25 minutes, and then to have 5 minutes where you can check your social media, or you can check your emails, or you can go for a walk and go to the toilet. But if you start working in those chunks, potentially you are less likely to get distracted in those chunks. As I mentioned, there's also techniques like blocking apps, setting up really effective study zones. And I've also talked to a number of students who find that opening a Zoom call with a friend who's also studying is really useful. So knowing that they're there, even though they're probably not watching you, they're probably just studying alongside you, helps keep that person focused and working on the thing that they've agreed to do.
Awesome. Another question we have is how to form group to work. Oh, sorry, that one was just worded a bit weird. Okay. How do you do group work and projects, especially when they're online and you can't meet those classmates in person? And I know that this is definitely a hard one because I have been there.
Do you want to talk about your experience, Mahika, and what worked for you?
Yeah, sure. It definitely can be very hard, especially if you have quite, physical things that you might need to do the best thing is make a group chat and call each other and have, you know, meetings where you can meet regularly on a platform that you enjoy. I know a lot of people have used Discord as a group work kind of platform. It's a little bit more informal. It allows for more questions, things like that. Yeah, I haven't really used Discord for that before, but I think that's a great idea. And having a collab, a Google Doc, where you have everything on there. And it can be quite hard if you do feel like you are struggling, your group members aren't pulling their weight, or things just aren't working. Always contact, you know, your lecturer or your course convener or coordinator, because they will be able to help you the most. Don't be afraid, because obviously you want to get the work done and not leave it to the last minute. But yeah.
Such great advice. Yeah, the only thing I'd add would be, yeah, in line with what you were saying, is setting up really clear understanding about expectations. So I think that goes alongside with what you were saying, Mahika, with clear communication. So like understanding, like, what are we trying to do by which stage? What parts of the project do we need to do first? Who's responsible for this aspect? What happens if this doesn't go wrong? So because you're not able to troubleshoot in person, that clear communication of expectations is probably a bit clearer, but something that most groups should be able to work out in their first couple of meetings.
Awesome. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. So if anybody has any last questions, definitely type them into the chat for Darcy. Okay, so another question we have is, I've been studying online for a while now and I'm still struggling. Do you have any services that might be able to provide additional support? Yeah,
it's had to be us. So we're probably the first port of call if it is about studying, the struggles studying online. And so we, like the student support team, we're kind of like a centralized service, connected and similar to many other services. And if we can't help you, we can always point you in the right direction of another service. So some students might find that they're struggling studying online because of a mental health issue. So we may support the student, or we may connect the student in with counselling and psychology. Some students might be struggling online because of their struggles with English, so we might connect them up with the English support team. But if it's a student who's struggling online because of distractions or time management, or making connections or knowing who to ask for help, then we're probably the service that the student is best able to receive support from. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think UNSW has a lot of great services and a lot of peer and academic services, and I think in my first year I did not utilize them as much as I should have, especially since your first year is quite a big transition year. These services just are so helpful. So I definitely encourage everyone to definitely have a go at these services and make use of them, because they are there for the students. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to everyone for all these questions, and a big massive thank you to Darcy for your time today. It's been incredibly insightful. Yeah, I just want to thank all the students for joining us today. If you found the session helpful and insightful, then yeah, I wish you all the best for term one as well. If you have any questions following this event, please visit the Nucleus online chat or book an online session with the UNSW support advisors and the services that Darcy's talked about today. We'll post the links in the chat. But thanks for coming, and have a great day and a great term one.